In this battle, we're going to be testing Empire Spearmen up against a combination of Skeleton Warriors and Crypt Horrors. Units rarely engage alone, so we're going to see how the addition of one skeletal spear unit is able to increase the effectiveness of these Crypt Horrors. Just a few words of caution when interpreting any type of 1 versus 1 test. It's fairly obvious, but it bears repeating because not everyone seems to approach the tests from the right frame of mind. So the reason why I'm doing a lot of 1 versus 1 unit tests, not exclusively mind you, because there are a lot of other tests being done as well with different unit combinations, but 1 versus 1 is of course the easiest way to set up unit tests to begin with. So you are using units that cost just about the same, or units matched for price, and then you see how those units do against each other. So if I, for example, know that, say, Empire Spearmen beat Bretonnian Spearmen about 4 out of 5 times, something like that, then I know that I have to support my Spearmen or damage the enemy Spearmen in some way if I am to come out on top. However, if the reverse is true, if my Spearmen defeat the enemy Spearmen 4 out of 5 times, then I can be fairly certain that I am going to be able to defeat the enemy Spearmen head on. However, I'm also going to be fairly certain that if I'm playing against a player that knows what he or she is doing, then he or she is going to be supporting that engagement because he knows he's going to lose it. So those things, once I've done a bunch of these tests and gotten a feeling for which units do well against which units, then it's much easier in a battlefield situation to set up engagements that you have a fair idea you're going to be winning. So a disastrous example would be, let's say you have Chaos Knights and you're charging your Chaos Knights into Demigryph Warriors, thinking that they will do well enough to defeat the Demigryph Warriors. They, of course, will not. Let's say you support with some Chaos Spawn, all well and good. However, you are now spending significantly more than the cost of the Demigryph Knights to defeat the Demigryph Knights, which presumably means that somewhere else on the battlefield you're going to be lacking strength. So there are many things to consider when considering cost effectiveness. Monsters can be very powerful on the battlefield. They can also be a liability. They come with high weapon strength, they come with splash damage, they come with high mass, and they come with the ability to... They are faster than most infantry units, so they come with the ability to flank easier than infantry. But what we're going to do here, we're going to pretend that I'm an Empire player that plays very defensively. So I have my spears just set up here. The undead player sends in his skeleton warriors, hitting multiple units as he does so, because a unit that is fighting will not get the charge defense against large foes, presumably, since it's engaged and it's not bracing. So the Crypt Horrors are going to run in now that the unit is engaged. And the skeletons haven't killed much yet. And what the skeletons are going to do, the skeletons are going to tank damage for the Crypt Horrors. And they're going to work as a meat shield around the Crypt Horrors. So these skeletons on the side here, they prevent the Crypt Horrors from being fully surrounded, which is very useful. Now, the skeletons cost 300, the Crypt Horrors cost 800. These Spearmen in combination cost 900. So the undead unit combination is much more expensive. And we saw how just 2 Spearmen units are enough to defeat the Crypt Horrors in combat. So the Skeleton Warriors are disintegrating already. The Crypt Horrors are getting some killing done. As you can see though, just the addition of the Skeleton Warriors changes things a lot. So it enables the one of the spearman units break. But now that the meat shield is gone from the Crypt Horrors, the Crypt Horrors start disintegrating very, very rapidly. And this is sort of a mini battle situation where you have several units coming up against each other. Amazingly, the skeleton warriors haven't died just yet. But the Crypt Horrors, if you look, oh, the Crypt Horror unit is gone now. But the Crypt Horrors, their job is to break through, deal damage. The job of the skeleton warriors is to tank damage for the Crypt Horrors. There are several ways of setting up this. What you could also do is use zombies, skeletons, whichever cheap unit you have, and try to hold the spears, flank around with the Crypt Horrors, and that way enable their fear and their damage potential to be increased because they go and attack units in the rear. The problem is, however, like always, getting them there before a unit of Demigryph Knights slams into them, or some other nasty unit intercepts them. So definitely using units in combination makes, if you use the right unit combination, it makes the units more powerful than they are by themselves. However, you do, and oftentimes you do end up spending more. And I've seen this combination: skeleton warriors, crypt horrors, skeleton warriors, and vargulfs or zombies and crypt horrors. And although it is a powerful combination, because once you have enough of these units, you can overwhelm an enemy line. So yes, you do spend significantly more than the enemy has spent on his infantry, but you remove the infantry very, very quickly, and that enables you to deal with the cavalry much easier when you have destroyed the enemy infantry relatively quickly. Because if this was a line of six spears, and you're sending in, let's say you're sending in, just matching for price, you're sending in skeleton warriors against the spearmen, and then you flank with 6 crypt horrors or what have you, and then things can get interesting, unless those crypt horrors are met with 6 Demigryph Knights. So there are always these things to consider back and forth, but that's the fun, for me at least. That's the fun in playing multiplayer battles, finding solutions to these things that arise. Strength and honor.